time for Be in the Driver's Seat with Regina, the Queen of Car Loans. Mental health expert Dr. Teresa Moore and community engager Gil Garrett. A Saturday mix of community, cars, credit, and wellness created just for you. Brought to you by Joe Longhammer Chevrolet of Waterford. Plan your next vehicle purchase or get your credit rolling in the right direction with Regina today. And now, Regina, the Queen of Car Loans, Dr. Teresa Moore, and Gil Garrett.
You know what? Today is going to be a special day. You know why? Because we woke up this morning. Wake up, everybody.
No more sleeping in bed. Where you at, Gil?
Man, did you see, if you could have seen the look on her face, she zoned out and zoned back in and was like,
it don't take nothing but a minute, Gil.
Come on.
Welcome.
Ain't nothing to it but to
Gil,
do it. Come
ain't
on.
nothing
Listen.
to it but to do it.
2024, y'all on something. Y'all want it more.
Listen.
Y'all got us.
You got it.
And listen.
You got more.
Look,
Don't get more.
Listen.
Come on.
Listen.
Come on with it. Come on.
More for
way,
2024.
Just how calm you just came in with that introduction, like Barbara Walters. Gee, I'm with it.
Look, I'm up one for your little sister.
I'm
just getting to that, getting to that part.
I like that.
Oh.
I like that. Good morning. What's going on with y'all?
What's
happening?
Little sister.
It's
right.
Michigan, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's cold.
And it's cold.
It's cold.
What is it? Wednesday it was -2, -3.
It was
Man,
and that wind chill. That wind chill is what did it for me.
All I know is it's 3 degrees this morning.
You know, I just want to say a special prayer to everybody out there that has heat.
Yes.
And if you don't have heat, you know what? Hopefully you can get some help. Because I didn't have heat one day this week. And when I didn't have heat, woo!
Man, shout out to the warming shelters.
Yeah.
Shout out to the warming shelters.
And for the county officials that are making sure that the shelters are opening, having those conversations.
Yes.
So I'm thankful for that because it's cold outside. And so that's been my prayer. Lord, protect those who don't have shelter.
Yeah.
Well, when I didn't have heat, my furnace wasn't working, or it could have been a user with the thermostat. I prayed.
Yeah.
I prayed all night, but I had my heater on in the room, and then I had the warranty company come and actually take care of me. So shout out to the warranty company. Yeah. I'm not going to give their name because they're not paying for this commercial this morning.
Well, we thank God for the ability to even have warranties.
Yes.
The small things.
Yeah.
The small things.
The very small things.
The small victories could be great motivators.
Yeah.
As you moving through.
Yeah.
Well, it's all about the small wins because, some people, they don't celebrate. They always want to celebrate the big wins. Yeah. But you got to get to the small wins to what?
Yeah.
Make it in life, right?
Yeah. But that I guess that will lead right into our word of the day.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That word of the day. You came up with that word of the day.
Yeah, the word of the day is press. Press. P-R-E-S-S. Press. And so I've been talking about the letter P lately. Prayer, persistence, but press. And when I think about press means to keep going in spite of. To move even when you don't want to. Mm-hmm. It's pressing is almost like a sacrifice. It's going to cost you something to keep going. So as a therapist, I train or I help give tools to help my clients navigate through daily processes. And sometimes it's a press. And then even as a Christian, as a woman of God, I press towards the higher calling, which is in Christ. So it's a press every day. Press is a sacrifice. And so when I think about sacrifice, I think about what is it going to cost you? Ooh, so when you press, there's a cost associated with it.
That's good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
So when I think about press, I think about, I used to play basketball back in the day, right? Mm-hmm. And we had where, it's like you press down the basketball court, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I haven't played basketball in so long, so that might not even be the word today. But we were always taught to press. You press the other team, you make things happen, right? Mm-hmm. So in life, I always figured I had to press through everything that I did.
Mm-hmm.
It was a small things, it was a big thing. It's like, okay, you know what? How are we gonna get this done? Let's press.
Mm-hmm.
How are we gonna get to the next level? We press.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about pressing or making your next move.
Yeah. Press through the mess, man.
Oh, I like press through the mess.
Yeah.
And you know what? Pressing is applying pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Pressing is also an offense.
Mm.
Pressing is also when God says press towards the mark.
Mm-hmm.
You also, I want to believe he means also to apply pressure. Because a lot of times people somehow think Christians are meek and we're supposed to be these individuals who are just, just kind of, really, small and, really, delicate. And some of us are, right? And by nature, but then some of us, we apply pressure. And our press is the pressure. Because when you're coming up against us, when enough is enough, one thing that I've always seen with older Christians, specifically older men.
What is older Christian? What age limit is older Christians?
Older than me.
So you're talking about
So I'm saying when I'm saying
the mothers in the church.
When I'm saying the mothers, the elders, in the church, or just older, seasoned.
Okay, hold on.
When I'm saying
back it up.
That whole
so
pressure.
You call it seasoned, so
I
seasoned
do.
older. What's
and
what?
Seasoned. I didn't call y'all older Christians.
But you said the seasoned.
Because y'all too young to be
old. Old is a relative word.
Yeah, but let me get through this.
We're trying, but you always take so long to get there. So
no, I'm not, because now you're trying to apply pressure.
Yeah, I am.
You know what I'm saying?
Pressing through.
So, listen, but you need to understand that when a seasoned Christian, a lot of times when I've seen them get to a point where they like, you know what, devil, I'm about sick of this now. Mm-hmm. Enough is enough. And they hit that point where they like, you know what, you can't have my child. You can't have my babies. You can't have my house. My husband is protected. Like, I will watch my grandmother pray across the house. And it was just so intense, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like when you're applying pressure, that's what it is. Intensity.
But your grandmother or the elder in the church, they only say that when they got up to the here over their head with a mess, right? So they're pressing through the mess, right?
But you're still applying pressure.
Right, but they're upset. They're pissed off to the piss point of pissivity. I've used that word in about 30 years. They're pissed off to the piss point of pissivity.
Yeah.
So when people get mad.
I don't know if it's really being angry. I think, and as Christians, sometimes the Bible tells us that God won't have us be ignorant to the devices of Satan.
So you want to use a different word, Dr. T?
No. So I'm just saying, I think that as Christians, we get to a point like, I'm not playing with you, devil. Like, I don't play no bald head games with the devil. So when I identify what it is, that's when my prayer gets intensified. That's when I go to the throne and say, look, God, and I begin to remind God of his promises, because we don't give the enemy any leeway. We recognize who he is and we deal with it. So when those mothers was going forth saying you can't have this, that was bringing back God's word and standing on the firm foundation. So they had to press through. So press is also, like you said, press through the mess, but you also pressing forward and putting God's word, putting pressure, using God's word and applying pressure to the situation.
Well, every day people press through their mess.
Yeah.
And you may be in a mess and you don't even realize you're in a mess.
That's right.
Because every day I press through the mess.
But wait a minute, you're right. You know what? Sometimes we are in a mess and we don't know it. Because we've gotten comfortable being in the mess.
Because we so comfortable, we don't know how to be uncomfortable. And we stay in our lane. Because that's what we know. Because we don't want to press through that mess.
Yeah, but press is a sacrifice.
It is a sacrifice and a necessity.
Yeah.
You don't get to the success or a level of success in your life, whatever that looks like to you, without applying some type of pressure.
That's real.
And whether it's small or the volume of it really doesn't, it varies from person to person.
Yeah.
Because I think success is relative. Like, what's successful for you Regina, it may not be success for me,
real.
but there's a level of anointing when I look at certain things in the kingdom that I know that if a person has a certain amount of power, anointing, or an exuberance of God's grace or his power, I know that they've been through a lot of things, because that weighs on them. God doesn't move different in our lives. Like he moves specific, like there's things about God, I believe, that you specifically see that God points out that he's recognizable in any situation. And so when I see someone who walks in and they don't say a word, but it's this presence that introduces themselves before they even walk through the door, I'm like, like our guest. Our guest got out the car, and it was a draw when I watched how Dr. T and her embraced, and it was this whole like boom. They didn't say it wasn't a talk. She didn't say much.
Well, Gil,
it was just great.
They are Delta sisters.
That had nothing to do with it.
They have a bond. She said that they have a bond.
But that bond,
Gil.
Bonds are one thing. Anointing is something totally different.
I get it. There's two different things, but they're Delta sisters.
I didn't know that.
Delta sisters have some type of bond.
So our relationship extends beyond Delta. So we both are Deltas, but we were in Women at Rest. So we have a lot of history. So I'm excited about the guest that's coming on, and I cannot wait to share what she has today.
And you know what? We'll be right back with our guest,
Dr. Portia Lockett. Y'all stay tuned.
Regina the Queen of Carlones here with Joe Longhammer Chevrolet in Waterford. If you're looking to get into a new or used vehicle with affordable rates, come see the Queen, like Dr. T.
The Queen got me approved the same day and got me what I wanted. No hassle, no problems. Go see Regina the Queen of Carlones.
That's right. My lenders are making unheard of deals where others simply cannot. Ride in style with the Queen, Regina the Queen of Carlones. Just Google Regina the Queen of Carlones.
Chevrolet, find new roads.
Are you paying high interest rates on a car loan? Do you desire to purchase a home, but you're unable to get approved? Perhaps you're repeatedly getting denied for credit when applying for credit cards. Listen, better credit doesn't just happen. You've got to make it happen. I've helped hundreds of people better their credit and their overall financial situation by applying a simple set of instructions that anyone can follow. Call me today, 1-800-988-9184. That's Kathy Washington, your financial impact coach, at 1-800-988-9184. Don't delay. Call today.
Hi, I'm Dave Wilkie, Service Manager at Joe Longhammer Chevrolet. Since the 1950s, Joe Longhammer and his family have been honored to service your vehicles. With 112 years of combined service experience, we can take care of any concern you might have. From warranty work to routine oil changes, we treat your vehicle like our own. Call now to schedule the next service appointment at Joe Longhammer Chevrolet. Stop by anytime, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Get your vehicle serviced right every time. Call 248-683-7100. That's 248-683-7100.
Chevrolet, find new roads.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to have our guest in the studio. We have Dr. Portia Lockett in the studio. Hey, Dr. P.
Hey, Dr. P.
How you doing this morning?
I am wonderful. I told you all this morning when I walked in, I said I just knew that I was going to be blessed with a good meal. I saw the Coney Island right up the street. I got here, and I'm like, I got
Was it 24 hours?
Yes,
What's 24 hours?
Purified water, and that's good. Water is good for the soul.
There you go. And she got it. So I'm so excited.
I'm not even going to comment on right now about that.
Don't
Coney
even
Island
do
right
it.
now.
Don't even
I'm not
do
even
it.
going to comment because it might not be appropriate because that'd be tearing the stomach up right now. Woo, tearing the stomach up.
So listen, everybody, Dr. P is in the building. Dr. Portia Lockett is a grief recovery method specialist, a spiritual advisor, chaplain, award-winning international speaker, y'all. I'm so excited. She's a fellow author, missionary who has traveled over 5 continents, and she is the CEO and founder of the Azale Bennett Lockett Foundation. And so I'm so excited to have her in the studio today. So Dr. P, let's get started.
All right.
So tell the listeners, who is Dr. Portia Lockett? I gave an introduction, but you tell us who you are.
You know what? Thank you for asking that question. I am just a lover of people and a sister that is on an assignment and making sure that I'm staying in alignment with my calling on my life, and that is to be able to help those who are grieving, to inspire those who are grieving, to continue to move through the journey, through that pain, pushing through that pain, finding purpose in that pain. I always go back to when my son transitioned, got his wings, and God said, I'm going to give you peace over your pain.
But wait a minute. You said something. You said that you were on assignment.
Yes.
So before we get into the actual assignment, how did you know that you were on assignment to do this work?
Well, the work that I'm presently doing right now is shortly after my son transitioned. He was murdered. And God spoke to me and said, I'm going to get the glory out of this. And at that very moment, I didn't understand. I'm like, wait a minute, how are you going to get the glory out of my son no longer being in my presence?
Wow. That's heavy. That's heavy. But okay, so you have been on assignment to help others who were grieving or who are grieving, but how did you get through the grieving process yourself?
And, you know, everyone's journey is different. I was seriously having conversations daily with God, and he kept reinforcing, I'm going to get the glory out of it. See, I've been in this ministry of supporting people who are grieving probably for the last, I would say, 20 years.
Wow. So you were doing this work before.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
So I've been there to help people from the cradle to the grave, from the womb to the tomb and everything in between, long before my son transitioned, right? And so I'm that person that you call when you're at that bottom of the pit, when you just can't pull yourself out, and I'm there to push you through when you can't get through. I'm there with that mother as they deliver a premature child, and she's holding that baby in her arms and with the expectation of a full-term child. I'm there when that other mother has to be escorted into the morgue to identify her son. I am that person that when God has allowed a mom or grandma to be at the point of going into hospice and being there to comfort that family. I'm that person that when you have lost your home to foreclosure, bankruptcy, car being repossessed, going through a bad divorce, I'm that person that my brothers and my sisters in the community call on to be able to push them through. So now here I am in this space like, whew, okay, you talking to me?
Wow. Do you think that God chose you early on in life to be able to deal with your son being murdered? Because sometimes I hear people say that God identifies them early on to walk a certain path. Do you think God identified you early to be able to walk that path that you're walking right now?
You know, I'm so glad you asked that question, because from day one, the enemy tried to take my son out. When I first found out that I was pregnant with him, one of the things that was revealed to us is that I had some cancerous cells. And so I had to have a surgical procedure to be able to move those cancerous cells. I had a cone biopsy, right? And so I had to be on bed rest for quite a while. And then when he was 4 years old, he was outside playing, and he ran into the back of a truck, and there was rust on the end of the truck, and he busted his head open. To the point where it was just bleeding, overwhelmingly bleeding. And then when he was 7 years old, we were celebrating. And my baby loved to eat. He was like, we called him Mikey. Mikey will eat anything. Azale ate anything, right? And so I remember him picking up his steak, trying to cut it before I could get to it. And he cut his finger. I had to take him to emergency to get stitches. And then when he was 11 years old, he was at a summer camp in Chicago, and he and another little boy were playing. And they told the boys, get your stuff together, get packed up or whatever. And so they got to playing, and I think he had his finger in the hinge of the door. The little boy shut the door, took off the tip of his finger.
Wow.
When he was shortly after that, he and his brothers, along with his father, were in a near-fatal car accident. Shortly after that, he was in another car accident himself. And so I remember one time when he was in his early 20s, he was hospitalized for 2 weeks, and the doctors ran all sorts of tests trying to find out what was wrong with him. And so they gave him medication after medication after treatment and treatment. And I'm looking at him at this point, and I'm just like, man, what is it about this? So I knew it was something special about my child from day one.
Wow.
So how did you prepare? Well, maybe that's not the proper word, prepare. And you said you knew he was special from day one, and you had a tail sign of these incidents. When it happened, the day you got the call or when you realized that he was no longer here, how did you deal with God at that moment?
What about a year before it happened?
Okay.
God revealed to me that something was going to happen. I didn't know the details, how it was going to happen, when it was going to happen, so forth and so on, but I knew. So in the spirit realm, I was prepared, but I wasn't. So I put it like this: I wasn't shocked that it happened. I didn't know how, because he had been cut, he had been in the hospital, he had been in a car accident, all these different things that had led up to that point. And so I actually questioned God, even at that point. And I said, here I am doing all this work to support other people, mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and people. And out of all the children in the world, why did you have to take mine? But he revealed to me a while later and says, God is no respecter of persons.
Yeah. Dr. P, as you said that, I'm reminded of a story. A man was saying something similar. And when he asked God that, God revealed to him and said, why do you think it's so hard to be with me? Why do you think being with me is so hard? Meaning God.
Yes.
And so oftentimes we try to hold on to the things that God is giving us, but they
Yes.
belong to him. When we give them back
Yes.
to God, they belong to him. And so out of this pain, some things happen. You birthed some things. So let's talk about what was birthed out of Azael's death. Or transition.
Yes.
Let me say
so
that.
I began to write more. I was always a writer and writing letters to myself and writing letters to other people and starting to get into the spoken word. But one of the first things he gave me was a poem called Be Still.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there and he says, be still, be still. I said, be still, be still and be quiet and know that I am God, not just your body, but your mind. Be still. Because you see, I'm making a transaction. I made a withdrawal and I'm getting ready to make a deposit. Be still and know that I am God. And so a month before he received his wings, I found out I was going to be a grandmother. And so as he was making that withdrawal, he was also giving me a deposit, but he turned it into a spoken word form. He also began to pour in me and just says, like Mary. Yeah. We cry like Mary cried. If you could imagine Mary watching her son being carried to the cross to be crucified for our lives, for us to be able to have life in abundance. And so I didn't have to watch. But I don't know if I could have been like Mary, and I would have been trying to figure out all kind of ways to prevent my baby from going to the quote unquote cross.
Yeah.
Your ability to deal with that. What was the perception from others as they're viewing you go through that? Because it would appear to me that there was some kind of not out of body experience, but the fact that you've been through this, you've seen it, you coached it, it happens to you. Now people are looking to the person they go to is going through it.
Yes.
So how were you able to still be who God called you to be, prepared you to be, and still go through this moment?
In public.
And so it was only by the grace of God. Now, mind you, I didn't have to do a whole lot of that because it was in the middle of COVID. So there were very few people that were around me. However, in the planning, people started calling and saying, Portia, what do you need? What do you need? I got your back. So they were coming in little small groups, text messages. Matter of fact, when I was in Atlanta, my phone, I want to say it blew up. It just stopped. It shut down because it couldn't handle the love that was coming through. Wow. And so I remember we had a viewing at Fellowship Chapel. And it's like 28 degrees outside, like cold like it is now. And only 20 people could come into the church at a time. And people were actually waiting outside for 20, 25, 45 minutes to come in and greet the family. And the entire 4 hours that we were there, God gave me the ability to stand with my arms across my chest and greet every person that came through the door. I said, my son is right here, and I'm standing right here by his side. I said, this is my baby. I'm not leaving his side.
Wow. You know, Dr. Portia, the word of the day was press, and you are sharing with us how you were able to press through. You were able to press through grief as a mother, because I've been there. I've had to watch my children die in my husband's arms. And so I know what a grief recovery method specialist job is. But really in that moment, it's all God.
Yeah, it is.
It is all God.
It is.
So just to be able to press through that and stand strong and have the ability that even though I'm hurting, I'm still going to greet everybody else. Wow. I'm just so excited about what God has done and is doing in your life. So we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with Dr. Portia Lockett.
Regina, the Queen of Carlones here with Joe Longhammer Chevrolet in Waterford. If you're looking to get into a new or used vehicle with affordable rates, come see the Queen, like Dr. T.
The Queen got me approved the same day and got me what I wanted. No hassle, no problems. Go see Regina, the Queen of Carlones.
That's right. My lenders are making unheard of deals where others simply cannot. Ride in style with the Queen. Regina, the Queen of Carlones. Just Google Regina, the Queen of Carlones.
Chevrolet, find new roads.
Are you paying high interest rates on a car loan? Do you desire to purchase a home, but you're unable to get approved? Perhaps you're repeatedly getting denied for credit when applying for credit cards. Listen, better credit doesn't just happen. You've got to make it happen. I've helped hundreds of people better their credit and their overall financial situation by applying a simple set of instructions that anyone can follow. Call me today, 1-800-988-9184. That's Kathy Washington, your financial impact coach, at 1-800-988-9184. Don't delay. Call today.
Hi, I'm Dave Wilkie, Service Manager at Joe Longhammer Chevrolet. Since the 1950s, Joe Longhammer and his family have been honored to service your vehicles. With 112 years of combined service experience, we can take care of any concern you might have. From warranty work to routine oil changes, we treat your vehicle like our own. Call now to schedule a next service appointment at Joe Longhammer Chevrolet. Stop by anytime, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Get your vehicle serviced right every time. Call 248-683-7100. That's 248-683-7100.
Chevrolet, find new roads.
We're back in the studio. We're still here. We're talking to Dr. Portia Lockett. And, this part right here, I really want everybody to get your pen and your paper ready, is because when you go through something, we talk about pressing through. But how do you press through something? Our word of the day was press, right? So we're pressing through life. But you have some ways that you can help people heal. So let's talk about that.
So, as you know, we talked about me being a chaplain, a spiritual advisor, helping people along the way, going through various types of grief, but specifically losing a loved one. And so God gave me another instruction. He says, I want you to create a healing card deck that will be able to guide individuals or groups of people through that journey. And so with that being said, I have a healing card deck. Wow. And on every card, there's something unique and different that you can do in order to help move you to the next level of your healing journey. Wow. Because, see, we really never get completely healed. Yeah. We just learn how to maneuver through that journey. So on one of the cards, it may simply say something like, it's time to reconnect. And what does reconnect mean? Is sometimes when we're going through, we go into that depressed mode, we go into that hole, and we pause there for a minute and don't know how to come out. And so reconnecting means returning 5 phone calls, returning 5 emails, returning 5 text messages in order to get acclimated back into society, right? Another card may just say simply, you know what, let's take a trip to Home Depot and buy a tree and plant it in honor of our loved one. Another card may say something on the little lighter side. Let's have a karaoke party and only sing the songs that our loved one, the genre of music that our loved one enjoyed singing.
Did these cards help you as you're going through the grieving process? Because like you said, you never fully go through grief. Like you're able to press through.
Yes.
But does these particular cards help you? Can you pull some from time to time?
Yes.
And the reason why I ask you that, because, you know, the therapist in me, I have what's called the mason jar escape. Mm-hmm. And so tell us, like, how did that help you?
It really did, because, you know, I had read books, I watched movies, took classes, and so all of these resources, I compiled them into this deck of cards. And so I remember one day I was just going through the cards myself, and I pulled out one that says it's time to handle your finances. Because sometimes people put that on pause for a long period of time. You need to go and find out what's, you know, in that bank account. Go to court if you need to be able to get access to that account if necessary. Actually, it took me a whole year to get access to my son's bank account. I had to go back and forth from Detroit to Atlanta through their court system in order to be declared that I was the overseer of his affairs. So that delayed a lot of things, right? But even after that, I had to figure out, you know, were there any credit cards that need to be closed down, were there any bills that need to be paid? And so I had to file some paperwork to put notice. So if there were some monies that were left, you know, after paying for, you know, different things that need to be paid for, how do we move forward through the financial piece? Is there a safety deposit box? You know, closing down accounts, closing down credit cards, because sometimes people, you know, lose things. You know, we couldn't find his wallet, you know, so we didn't know whether someone was charging things or, you know, taking things out. You know, it's a lot of different things that you have to go through. And I remember one of the cards simply says, write a dear blank letter. And on that letter, what do you write? You tell that person, sometimes, dear mom, you know, I'm going to really, really miss you. I'm going to hold close and dear to my heart some of the life lessons that you taught me as being a mother. You know, I remember when you sat down and you started talking to me about what does it take to be a young lady? How does a queen walk? How does she carry herself? How important it is to always bring your best self forward at all times. But then again, you may have to write that dear somebody else letter, dear dad letter. Dad, I forgive you for not being that dad that was present. My daddy was a Rolling Stone. Everywhere he laid his head was his home. And when he died, all he left us, 13 kids by 4 different mamas, was alone. So, but I forgive you. You know, so you're writing those different letters, you know, dear honey, I'm going to miss you. You know, you've been my life partner for 45 years, and now I no longer have you.
How important is it to forgive while going through this process? How important was that for you?
That's good.
Because he transitioned because he was murdered. How important was the forgiveness for you?
Oh my God, it was real important. You know, when we were off, I mentioned to you that my son spoke to me several times in the spirit realm. And one of the things he said, you know, in the spirit realm and in a dream, whatever you want to call it, is don't waste your life trying to figure out who did this. Move on. And so I had to sit down and I had to come to grips, and I just said, you know what, I don't know who this person is. I'll probably never know who this person is. It's a cold case, like so many of our young black men and women who are murdered. They're cold cases. They never find out who it is. And so am I going to walk around for the rest of my life angry and bitter? Was I angry and bitter? Absolutely. But was I going to allow myself to stay in that space?
Does that have anything to do with your relationship with Christ as well?
Oh,
because I know you're a chaplain. And so when guilt asks about forgiveness, you know, we have some specifics that God has told us in the Bible. If you don't forgive men, then he won't, with their trespasses, he won't forgive us ours. So how has your faith helped you even in the forgiveness piece?
Oh, absolutely. Just what you said. You know, I am not a perfect person.
Neither.
And one of the things my pastor always said, you know, there's no perfect people, there's no perfect place, and when you show up, it's going to become imperfect because we're imperfect beings, right?
Because we're there.
We showed up. Doggone it, I messed up, right? I walked into a perfect place, or what they quoted as a perfect place. But just in terms of my faith walk, you know, I had to dig deep on a daily basis. I said, Lord, you got to help me to get through this and learn how to forgive.
And now that's press.
Yeah, pressing through, and even asking God to put somebody in that person's life who took my child's life. Maybe I don't even know that person's still living. I don't know what that person was going through. I don't know, you know, what led to that point or where that person was spiritually, mentally, emotionally. I don't know. I will never know. But I pray for that person that they would find the Lord, that their lives will be transferred into something good. Even after this, I want them to serve and pay the consequences. Don't get me wrong. But evidently, when people do that, that means that they don't have any self-love. So I pray for that person to find some self-love.
Wow. That's real.
Because when we lack self-love, it's easy to do things to other people when we don't love ourselves.
That's true.
I want to just kind of change channels or change directions a little bit. I want to just talk about your podcast. How did you become a part of the Grieving Journey podcast?
You know, it's interesting because my spiritual daughter, Angel, who had lost her mother and her father and her grandmother like back to back, year after year. And so she called me up and she said, I want to do a podcast. I said, wow, I think that'd be wonderful. She said, but I want us to do it together. I said, I'm not the techie person. I don't know anything about starting a podcast. She says, all you got to do is just show up and we're going to talk this thing through. Because one of the things through the foundation where we try to get people to understand is grieving is not always just about the loss of a loved one.
That's true.
There's approximately 40 different ways that you can grieve. I mean, just think about the loss of a pet. You can lose your home. You can lose your job, lose your business, going through a divorce, being diagnosed with a chronic illness, losing, your mobility, losing your sight, losing your hearing. There's so many different ways of going through that journey of loss. And so I said, okay. And so we kicked it off last year. Wow. Matter of fact, I remember right after we had our first event back in April, we went into the studio and did our intro just to let people know that it was coming. And so we've introduced some wonderful people to the public eye to share their stories. And we're excited about the next segment coming up probably shortly in the next few months.
That's good.
Yeah.
So I got to apologize because I started laughing after I said a few things. Dr. T.
I was looking at her.
Yeah, Dr. T made me laugh.
She's not techie.
When you said techie, right, I looked at her because she rolled her eyes at me because I'm not techie either.
Okay,
Even though I got 2 iPhones here, I am not techie. I barely make it through.
I
but when you
understand.
have ideals, you have to surround yourself with people that are techie.
Absolutely.
Like,
And she's
like
that person.
That's Mr. Trust Process, Mr. Gil Garrett over there. Listen. Dr. T ain't techie.
Listen.
Gil ain't saying nothing.
Hey, listen.
I
I have Dr. P, like Dr. Portia. I'm sorry.
No, it's not
I didn't got so just sitting here.
No, but
going
that's
through
cool because that's what the people who are close and dear to me call me P.
So
you good.
So I appreciate it. Thank you for that grace. It is. I deal with grief in my line of work every single day, and so to hear someone, the helper, the person that God sends to bring people out of it.
Yes.
To you giving your testimony, you're giving your life. Like, it's very rarely do I see this behind the scenes piece to it. And so we talked about forgiveness. We talked about now the podcast, and that was another question on how do people get a hold to you? Like, how do they know to say, call you? There's many helplines, but there's specific. How do they know to call you? Like, where do they reach you at? How do they get through to you?
Right. So, I have a website, drportialockett.com. That's my personal. And then we also have the website for the Azale Bennett Lockett Foundation, and that is AzaleBennett Foundation.org. And you can simply go there and fill out a form to let us know what it is that you need support with. And someone will return your call or your email within 24 hours.
I'm so glad that you gave the foundation's email because we want to know. You have some things coming up with the foundation. So let's talk about it. Let's tell the listeners what you have coming up.
Absolutely. So if I could just backtrack for a second because it just didn't happen. That was another assignment that was birthed. The Azale Bennett Lockett Foundation, and he gave it to me like we're having a conversation. You're here to help others heal, offer them hope, and hold their hearts as they're going through any type of grieving journey. That's our tagline. And so with that being said, I had another conversation, and I was like, okay, God, how we're going to get the word out there? What are we going to tell people? What are we going to do? He said, you got to get out there and you got to start doing some things in the community. So that's when he gave us the permission series, permission to grieve, because some people feel like I only have a certain amount of time in order to grieve, or, it's been 9 years, but I'm still grieving. You have permission to grieve as long as it takes you to get through whatever it is that you're going through.
Amen.
Amen. And you can't allow anybody to put you in a box and say you've got X amount of days, X amount of hours, and this, and you can't cry in public. You can only cry at home at night. You know, so all these things. So permission to grieve. What does that look like when you give someone permission and say it's okay to feel? Because if you don't feel, you can't heal.
That's like
you can't deal.
That's
you can't deal with it.
That's just like giving somebody permission to go to the bathroom. You got to go to the bathroom when you got to go to the bathroom. You should be able to have permission to heal, deal, and feel.
Yes.
Oh,
that's
that
my
from you.
thing.
Yes. I don't know what that just came out.
Feel, deal,
and heal. Yes.
So something's coming up next month. That's why I'm so excited. I want the listeners to hear about what's coming up and how they can get involved.
Yes. So next month is permission to love again. We had permission to grieve, permission to heal, permission to live and laugh, and now is permission to love again. Sometimes we forget how to love ourselves.
Yeah.
When you're going through life and you lifing it, sometimes you look in the mirror, you wake up in the morning and say, I'm not feeling myself today. I don't like myself. I'm not loving the space that I'm in today. So lack of self-love. How do we fall in love with ourselves again? Then you may have been in a relationship, a long-term relationship or a toxic relationship or a marriage that just didn't work out. And so open yourself up to love again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you have that space where, you're so stuck in the fact that you're focused on the loss that you love that you can't love the people who are still present. We push them away. So there's so many different layers, of love. So if you come out on February the 17th, it's going to be a Wayne County Community College District on Otter Drive in Southfield. It's from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Wow. And you can get your tickets on Eventbrite. It is $25 per person, $40 per couple. However, we don't want to turn anyone around. If somebody says, I really, really need to be there, but for whatever reason, I can't afford it. Just reach out to us when you go to the Azale Bennett Lockett Foundation contact sheet. Let us know on social media. DM me, Dr. Portia Lockett on LinkedIn and Portia Lockett on Facebook, or either Azale Bennett Lockett Foundation on Facebook. Let us know, because we don't want to turn anybody away.
So you all heard it here from Dr. Portia Lockett. If you want to attend that event, please go and follow those directions she gave you, and you will be able to attend. Yeah. We'll be right back after we take this break.
Regina, the Queen of Carlones here with Joe Longhammer Chevrolet in Waterford. If you're looking to get into a new or used vehicle with affordable rates, come see the Queen, like Dr. T.
The Queen got me approved the same day and got me what I wanted. No hassle, no problems. Go see Regina, the Queen of Carlones.
That's right. My lenders are making unheard of deals where others simply cannot. Ride in style with the Queen. Regina, the Queen of Carlones. Just Google Regina, the Queen of Carlones.
Chevrolet, find new roads.
Hi, I'm Dave Wilkie, Service Manager at Joe Longhammer Chevrolet. Since the 1950s, Joe Longhammer and his family have been honored to service your vehicles. With 112 years of combined service experience, we can take care of any concern you might have. From warranty work to routine oil changes, we treat your vehicle like our own. Call now to schedule a next service appointment at Joe Longhammer Chevrolet. Stop by anytime, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Get your vehicle serviced right every time. Call 248-683-7100. That's 248-683-7100.
Chevrolet, find new roads.
And we're back with Dr. Portia Lockett. So, Dr. P, before we went on break, you gave us the Eventbrite information to the Permission to Love.
Permission to Love again. And let me tell you this, it's going to be a phenomenal event. We always do something very unique. First of all, we're going to feed you real good, right? That's number one.
Oh, that's
People love to
good.
eat, right? All right.
You know we coming.
Yes.
We going to fall through if it's a meal.
Yes, we're going to have
that.
a photo booth that's there. You can take pictures. We're also going to have entertainment. If you all know Michael Brock, oh my God, he's going to be doing some love ballads. We're going to have a couple there doing a dance demonstration. Christina and Gabe Perkins, they are phenomenal. They teach dance the whole 9 yards. We're going to have actual people giving testimonies about their love journey. We're going to also have some mental health experts and speakers. Glenn McIntosh, if you all know Bishop Greg Davis. Yeah. We're going to have Otis Bellinger that's going to be there. Dr. Carla Mitchell, I mean, she always brings a good word. And so many other guests that are going to be speaking there. Twyla Malcolm, I mean, all of these professionals that are going to be present to be able to give you good information that if you had to go to them individually, it would be $75 to $150. $50 just for a 30 to 45-minute session. But
You
we're
know,
giving
I know.
all these things. Plus, you're going to get a little, a little goodie bag that's there. And there'll be vendors that'll be there, too, where you can just buy things. And because it's the weekend right after Valentine's Day, this is a good place where you can just come and get some love poured into you, or bring your boo, bring your girl, bring your boy, and just hang out with us. We're going to have a wonderful, wonderful time.
So tell us that date again and how
Yes.
we can get tickets.
Yes, February the 17th from 4 p. to 7 p.m. You can go right on Eventbrite and type in, permission to love again. Or you can go directly to the Azale Bennett Lockett Foundation.org website, and you can get the tickets right there, which will transfer you over to Eventbrite. And to learn out more information and stay abreast of all the activities, follow me on social media. That's Portia Lockett, P as in Paul, ORTIA, Lockett, LOCKETT.
Well, Dr. P, what if you have some other folks that are not techie and they're not on Eventbrite? How can they get tickets?
Well, because we cannot sell tickets we won't be selling tickets at the door.
Okay.
Then, but I would suggest that you call a friend. Everybody got a friend? Call a friend. Call a friend. Call a friend.
Call your
children.
Call that helpline.
Call somebody.
And say, look,
Get them resources.
I'm gonna tell you something. I have someone every time that says, I don't know how to do this. So what they do is they cash app me the money, and I get the tickets for them.
There you go.
So it's
So
all,
y'all can
if there's a
DM
will,
her. You can DM Dr. Portia.
Yeah, but I don't want to be dealing with all that. I'm just saying, call a friend, because that's kind of. Yeah.
That could be overwhelming.
Yeah,
You're
it'd be
right.
a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yes.
I want to know what's some advice that you can give in about 1 minute for someone that's walking through grief right now, lost their child or lost a loved one, and they don't know how to deal.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things I would always suggest, first of all, there's steps that we can go through. We got to accept it, and sometimes we're stuck in that space, so we don't even want to deal with the fact that it's actually happening or it has happened. Surround yourself with like-minded people. Get into a support group. I belong to 3 different support groups with 3 different groups of women who have lost their children. One group is specifically for children who have been murdered. The other group is, various, ways some people lost their children due to COVID or, having a chronic illness and then, loss of life due to some other things. But get in a support group, get into therapy, get into counseling, reach out to me, others who are grief recovery method specialists so that we can hold your hand and hold your heart as you're going through that journey.
Amen.
And let the tears flow. Let those tears flow. Sometimes people will
Yes.
always say, be strong. And I tell people, why do you need to be strong?
Right.
Stop saying be strong.
Yes.
You don't have to be strong. You, like we said, you got to feel to deal to heal, right? And so when you're going through and when you're pressing, if you can't deal with something if you don't know it's there or you don't recognize it's there, it's almost like you got some physical issues in your body, but you're ignoring those issues, so you can't address those issues if you don't acknowledge that the issue is there.
That's good.
Yes.
So, Dr. P, men are taught often from the womb to not address their emotions and feelings or even being able to even recognize if they're grieving. What is the sign that if a man is walking around today, he turns in, he's tuning in right now, and he doesn't know he's grieving, what is the sign that he can look at himself to say, I'm grieving?
Yeah. He's angry a lot, snapping at the people that he loves, in the spirit of wanting to punch a wall. I know a lot of times, when brothers come to the hospital and they just lost that loved one, the first thing they want to do, they get angry, they kind of like rev up, like they just want to just beat the crap out of something or somebody. I'll encourage them to, go to the gym. Find that punching bag. Get those little poppy things that, you get when you buy products and it prevents you from the item from breaking. Get some of those and pop. Get a stress ball. Sit down and just let it out. Even if you have to go in your own closet, just let loose and cry. There's healing when you just let go and cry. And then come to events like this. I was talking to a brother just the other day, Dr. Ken Coleman, and we were having this conversation about, why is it that men don't want to come out and get support in public? And he says, because just what you said, men can't, they want to, position themselves like, I got this, I'm gonna get through this, but they get together in their own little groups. But, but you have to get them through something else. You may say, man, come on over here. We're going to watch the game. But while in the middle of the game on break time, let's talk a little bit. Let's go deep for 15 minutes.
And it's the vulnerability piece.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the vulnerability piece. And so I'm just thanking you for throwing that lifeline and throwing that tip out there, because a lot of times you don't recognize it. And so that is good for men to be able to say, okay, snap into something and say, I'm grieving. And then we can deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, and your manhood is not challenged by you showing emotion or you tapping into how you really feel. And I think that's happened many years with many men, that if you cry, men are not supposed to cry, or you're showing a sign of weakness and think it's weakness when you cry. But the reality of it is, men who don't cry are not in touch with their emotions.
Well,
men who don't allow themselves to feel, they're not in touch with themselves.
That's what we're taught, not to be into our emotions. And it's always drilled down into us, and there's not always been a created safe space. It's just now being in the last 2 years where there's a safe space for even me to be on the radio to say as a man, hey, you know, what is it that we can recognize for us grieving? And so that is a continuous healing. And so it is. That was my question: is how do you deal with men who are grieving and lost, and because we'll just get up and go back to work.
And so it's got to be a strong woman too. Right?
Come on.
A strong woman that will support a brother who you know is dealing with him. Just go give him a hug and just say, baby, I got you. Son, I got you. This is a safe space. Let it out, let it out, let it out, let it out. You know, being in some male support groups. You know, talking about grief, you know, in the pulpit. You know, reminding them Jesus wasn't no punk. He cried.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? So if you can imagine yourself having a conversation with Jesus, right? Because we're faith-based, we're Christians, right?
Right.
I can't imagine him not crying.
He had to.
He had to cry. He was cried on several occasions. Jesus wept. Shit.
Well, his weeping, because he knew the day was coming to go to the cross. But see, here's the thing. When we allow ourselves to feel, we can then begin to deal and we can heal. But when we avoid any one of those steps, then we're going in a circle. We're going in a circle. Allow yourself to heal.
Yes. And no matter how long it takes, you have permission to do just that. You have permission to grieve. You have permission to heal. You have permission to live and laugh out loud. And gain your life back. Permission to love out loud and love again. It doesn't have to stop, but it starts with self-love.
So once again, where can we get tickets to your event that's going on next month?
Eventbrite. Just go straight to Eventbrite and type in permission to love again.
Okay. That's good. So y'all heard it here, right on Beat in the Driver's Seat. We had Dr. Portia Lockett in today, and it has been a phenomenal show. I hope you all had your pen and paper out and you took some notes. And surely get in contact with her so you can get those cards.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us.
This is awesome. This is an awesome space to be in, and thank you for creating a safe space for us all. If you're listening, and you know what you need to deal with, you know who you need to call.
Call Dr. Portia Lockett so she can help you heal, offer you hope, and hold your heart as you travel through the grieving journey.
All right, we hope you enjoyed our episode today because we had a great time.
Awesome time.
All right.
Appreciate y'all.
See y'all soon.
You've been listening to Be in the Driver's Seat with Regina, the Queen of Car Loans, mental health expert Dr. Teresa Moore, and community engager Gil Garrett. Brought to you by Joe Longhammer Chevrolet of Waterford. Be in the Driver's Seat, a Saturday mix of community, cars, credit, and wellness created just for you. Thank you for listening.